right, good evening. It is 7:02 p.m. on Thursday, September 14th. I'm calling the Finance Committee meeting to order. Sorry we're a little bit late. We had a locked front door, so we had to sneak in upstairs after a little bit of waiting. All right. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast over the Lunenburg Public Access channel and on Facebook Live on the Public Access Facebook page. The following information is provided for members of the public that would like to participate in the meeting remotely. To participate remotely from a computer, please use the link attached in the agenda posted on the town calendar. From a telephone, please dial the toll-free number also attached on the agenda. This agenda lists all topics which may be discussed at the meeting and are those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by open meeting law. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hello. All right, are there any announcements from the committee tonight? I have none as well. Is there any public comment from the committee tonight? None here either. Is there any public comment from the public? All right, seeing none, should we move on to the town manager report?
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I will try to highlight some of the things that have been brought up in my town manager reports at select board meetings. And hello, welcome to the Finance Committee. It's like first time meeting. We have awarded a trash and recycling consultant service that we did same as last year. It was put out to bid, and Supportive Business Alternatives was the sole person who bid on the project. So that's going to be, it will encompass doing outreach for any service issues, working with the vendor and residents to resolve issues, looking at any bag issues as well, education outreach, try to reduce our contamination and our recycling. Also looking at other towns that have agreements going out, because this is the last year of our agreement for the pay-as-you-throw bag system, so we'll need to put that out to bid this year. So working with the contractor and the town to see what things in our last bid that need to be modified to make sure we get the best results possible for our next bid.
Is there any possibility of going to a town-wide system that's not the pay-as-you-throw?
That's not something we're looking at right now, and it would take a lot longer than the time we have
Consider
before.
it at all in their
Right.
Okay, but they are going to look at the bags.
Yeah, and if there's issues, again, I would say if anyone has issues in the bags, they should contact the vendor. They'll replace bags if they're faulty bags. They'll send you new ones. For projects going on, the Page Street Culvert project was complete. I don't know if you saw that post that was put out on social media and also announced at the select board meeting. So that project was very timely, on time, and under budget for the project. So that was good outcome.
Well finished as well, so
Yes.
just in time for a little bit of rain.
Yes. The LED streetlight project, that began last week, and so it would have been, the completion date would have been close to the end of September. They encountered issues in the field right away with the wiring for the streetlights. So we are now working with Unitil on that, but they will be proceeding with the conversion going forward. So it just will take longer to do the job because they'll be having to rewire a significant number of the lights.
At whose cost?
That will need to be determined through, and that's why we're working with Unitil.
Okay.
There is sufficient money within the Green Communities grant that we did receive, though, to cover all associated costs. But it's something we're going to continue to have conversations about. The Senior Center ADA patio project, that should be complete by the end of the month. That ribbon cutting ceremony is October 11th at noon. The TC Pasio's roof, we have been having leaks in that building, and that continues. That just happened last weekend. Oddly, it didn't happen with all that rain on Monday night. I can't explain it, but there's been consistent leaks, especially in the public access room. So there is an article that I submitted for the special town meeting warrant to do a repair, and the facilities director is soliciting quotes right now to do a partial repair to that roof. Because it's a mostly fully occupied building, as you know, between both school personnel, programs, public access, community programs, and town.
How much of the roof would that potentially cover?
Depending on how the quotes come out and by section, it'd probably be phased, look at a phased approach to that repair, because we would not be able to cover that repair and for the entirety of the roof. We would look at the worst section of that roof to repair. The new website should be launching on October 10th. We're looking forward to that. We are in the midst of an upgrade to Munis, which is our accounting system. So right now we're in a training phase, and that employees and staff and everyone who uses Munis is able to log in through the training module to test out that new platform, and any issues that come up during their using what normal features they would in that system are logged and then given back to Munis to make sure they resolve those issues before we go live. And that go live date right now is set for October 2nd and 3rd. I applied for a Maya grant for penetration testing, and that would test our network equipment. So that will be covered through that grant. For other projects, 925 Mass Ave. The EPA has approved additional funding for that project for additional work that would include soil borings, soil samples, monitoring well installation, groundwater sampling, removal of the hydraulic lift in the building, closure of the floor drain, and removal of the floor drain holding tank. So that was good. They completed that first phase that removed the canopy and all the underground storage tanks. So this would be additional work that's covered by EPA dollars.
Now, is this going to be a long-term process where they're going to be testing it for years and years, or is it, do we know?
That's a good question. I don't know how long, because I haven't been involved in projects similar to this, about how the length of time they have to monitor that well. They might need to keep those within the ground for a certain amount of time. We do have a filing before the Department of Environmental Protection that we're responsible for reporting back on. So that's a good question for our environmental contractor. And think that's mostly it. Third quarter preliminary taxes. So this year, because our certification, this is a recertification of our values year for all our real estate. And the vendor that we have is Vision. They're not able to complete the project by the January 1st deadline, so we had to request permission to have a delay in the deadline, which the DOR has approved. And we requested permission to issue third quarter preliminary bills. So that means, similar to the first and second quarter estimated bills, there would be a third quarter estimated bill. And that third quarter bill would match the first preliminary estimated bill as well. So there will only be one actual bill this fiscal year, and that'll be in the fourth quarter. So that process would be that a pro forma tax recap would be done, and that would be before December, so the third quarter could get mailed out and still be due payable on February 1st for the third quarter estimated taxes. And then once the values are certified by DOR after the project is complete by Vision, then there would be a tax classification hearing at that point, and the fourth quarter bills would be issued after that.
At this point, are we likely going to be behind for select board's meeting for determining the tax rate for the coming year?
So that tax classification hearing would be after the values are certified, so it would be, the February, March timeframe.
How does that affect our annual town meeting and our budget making process?
It would be for this year's tax rate.
Right. But we're still gonna need to look at, you're gonna take that tax rate to use for your budgeting purposes.
I would take the tax levy.
Right.
For budgeting purposes, not the tax rate.
We know, we kind of know how much we're gonna charge. It's just a question of how it's gonna be and what the tax rate will be. It's 2.5% over what it was last year, so we can budget the number.
Right.
Less the abatements though. Or I'm already forgotten.
No, it's,
Does it include
my
the
understanding was that it's what you originally charged, not what you actually got. Is that right? So if we abate something, it's still, if we were at 10 and we abated 2, next year we can start, it's 2.5% over 10.
That's my understanding as well.
That's what I thought.
Okay. So the levy should remain where the levy is for calculating Prop 2.5 with new growth and all of that.
I believe so, but again, this is my first time going through this as
Okay.
well. So these are all questions that I'm trying to work with DOR on as well.
Okay. All right, that would be one that I would like to know, just because that's gonna be potentially a couple $1 million difference. Or not a couple $1 million.
1.3.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
ballpark. And not good news on this. We had our meeting, we have an annual review meeting with our health insurance representative, and they are estimating or providing us an estimate what we should budget for health insurance, and that would be a 10% increase for active plans for fiscal '25. And they're saying that due to the healthcare industry and medical trends, that we should budget for the next 5 years, 8 to 10% each of those years. And they are explaining this is due to the low employment in the medical fields, and hospitals are renegotiating their contracts. So insurance rates are trending high. And that's all I have. The special town meeting warrant closes on Monday at 5 p.m. We do have a number of articles are ready. I can kind of just do a high-level overview of what articles we have so far. We have 2 annual recurring articles. One's the budget adjustment article, that's always on the special town meeting warrant, and a prior year expense article, which at this point we do not have any. And another article, if we do finalize the clerical bargaining agreement before the special town meeting, would be to fund the first year of that bargaining agreement. There is an article that was submitted by the police chief to transfer $80,000 from the opioid settlement stabilization fund to be used for a mental health co-response program. An article to transfer from the school department to transfer the amount that was in the fiscal 23 capital plan for the AC project to a standalone article that addresses the change in the scope for that project. An article, like I referred earlier, for the TC Passios roof repair, a partial repair to that roof. A couple articles from the sewer commission regarding their typical articles for the fall town meeting as well, for the sewer reserve capacity stabilization fund and the sewer infiltration stabilization fund. They transfer leftover remaining funds into those stabilization accounts at the fall town meeting. An article to transfer funds from the special purpose stabilization fund for the ambulance and the 2 DPW trucks. The select board has been discussing this. They originally voted on using ARPA funds for those 3 vehicles. The ambulance has been ordered, but is quite some time out, as we knew it was a long lead time due to that industry and those types of rescue vehicles. And the 2 trucks, we're still trying to secure the 2 trucks. So they would like to, and I need to provide an analysis to them, whether I recommend using the special purpose stabilization funds at this point. It was my original recommendation when I was putting together the budget last fiscal year for this fiscal year. And an article to amend the Code 110, which is animals, and that has to do with nuisance dogs. That's from the select board, wanted to amend that bylaw. And there are 5 bylaws from the planning board. They'll be on the special town meeting warrant. Expecting one from municipal building design just to give a report, and one from the agricultural commission. They had I know they have an article forthcoming, but have not received.
No citizen one so far?
No citizen petition so far. Any questions? Okay.
Where are we at with ARPA spending so far?
With the money that's been committed, the remaining balance right now, without changing the commitment to the ambulance and the 2 DPW trucks, there's about $58,000 remaining.
Okay. Does the select board have plans for that yet, or are they still sort of deciding what to do with the last
The
amount?
58,000, by the time they got through their prioritization list, the funds were pretty much exhausted for what the remaining requests would be. It wouldn't cover the next one in the prioritization schedule.
Okay.
So that's partially why they're looking at changing the source of funds for those 3 vehicles.
Okay. And how much that would, if we've already ordered the ambulance,
It's,
what do we order that with?
it doesn't, that part, we can change where the appropriation comes from,
Yeah.
because we haven't received it yet.
Okay, until we actually receive the truck, then we can we can choose to pay for it wherever, however we want to.
Right.
Okay,
There just has to be a source of funds, which we do have a source of funds right now for it.
Right.
That would just be a change in the commitment if it passed at town meeting.
Okay. So it would have to be a town meeting decision then?
Not the ARPA funding.
No,
The
but
special purpose
to
stabilization.
take it out of special
funds,
purpose,
yes.
right? Okay.
A
So we can do
two-thirds
that this coming annual town meeting in advance for the truck actually being delivered.
Say that again,
We
please.
could do that at this coming annual town meeting before the truck is delivered then if it's so determined by the select board not to use ARPA funding at that point.
Meaning, they wouldn't change that commitment until it did pass at a town meeting.
That's what I'm saying. We
Right.
could use that town meeting. We have plenty of time. It's not like we're up
Yes.
against a clock for delivery,
Right.
like you said. So we have plenty of time for the,
And from date of delivery, it was still 18 to 24 months out. So, and that was around March, I believe.
okay. So we've got plenty of time then. Okay. Any other questions on the report? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on, I invited what are we calling Karen these days? Is she still the town
She is our interim finance.
interim finance director? Okay. So I put in a request out to meet with the interim finance director and the treasurer as well. Is it Mylene? Is that how you say her name? Okay. And Karen wrote back that she would like to get together with us in November to go over all of the trust fund accounts and all the different accounts that we have and options for moving funds around and consolidating. But I told her that we would still have it on this agenda to discuss at least what we would like to have put together for that November meeting. I sent her a couple bullet point questions initially, but I wanted to get the full committee's opinion for what else we would like to know in this and discuss for this full sort of topic. So we can have a much better conversation than, I think, just a sort of off-the-cuff conversation. Let me pull up my email. So the initial request that I had sent over. There we go. Was just 4 simple points. I just asked for the number of accounts currently active with funds in them, for the amounts in each of those accounts, for any funds that are already appropriated and waiting to be drawn on, and then opportunities for consolidating funds into higher yield accounts. So that was sort of just a very basic overview, but I know that there were other topics that people had kind of brought up. Is there anything else that we'd be looking to get out of Ms. Brochu and Mylene?
I would think, just in general, what these accounts, what is the accounts used for, just for our educational purposes? Because, I mean, some of them might be pretty obvious, but others might not be, just so we know.
Okay.
I think that's true as far as, can we get a better, if it's sitting there for a while, we can get better returns nowadays, then that can help.
I guess following up with that would be restrictions on accounts. What restrictions are there in place that we're not allowed to move funds between, or do we have to?
All right. I
Can
mean,
we consolidate?
Are they on the books? They can be all in one big account, in some deposit account somewhere, but it's separated on the books. So, I mean, how is that, or does it have to be in individual accounts? Bank accounts or deposit accounts?
Right. Any other thoughts? We get a whole session with Ms. Brochu, so this is the time to ask her all the questions. Okay, I will include those over, Karen said she would watch the recording of this afterwards as well, so she'll see this too, but I'll put them together as well in the question form. If anything else comes up, just please shoot her a message and just request it. I'll include Mylene as well, she's our treasurer. And Ms. Lemieux recommended that we have her present as well for that one, because she's obviously going to have a lot of insight into that as well. All right, moving on to committee reorganization. We, again, don't have a full committee. And we're still missing 2 members. So if anyone's watching, I highly or strongly implore you to fill out a volunteer request form. As we have a budget season coming up that there's only going to be 5 of us potentially working on. And it's a pretty big ask for 5 people, and be certainly better served with more opinion on the committee. For the liaison reorganization, so this one, I went through the list of committees, commissions, and boards in the town, and I know historically we have sort of had them split up, but I kind of wanted to go through and do a little bit more of an in-depth liaison organization. Sort of reason being just to get a little bit more voice to some of the other committees and commissions and boards that don't necessarily have us reporting or have us checking in to see how things are going, that do actually affect the budget. So for each of these, I'm just going to read down them and we can kind of assign them as we go. For each of them, I'm happy to discuss the merits of having a liaison for them and whether or not we actually see fit that we need to. I'm happy to not have a liaison for all of these, or to add on to these as well, but it is a longer list than we've historically had. So starting off, we have the Agricultural Commission, which, to my knowledge, we've never had a liaison for. But given that they run the farmers market, and they are pretty active as well around town, I thought it would be good to actually have a communication with them. So if there's anybody that wants to volunteer for any of these, please speak up. Otherwise, we can go through nominations if it's easier. And does anybody have a preference as to whether or not we actually do or do not include AgCom?
I'm not sure exactly what they
Do they even
do.
have a budget?
Do they actually have a budget line this year? This year they don't?
Like fiscal 24?
Yes.
Oh, anytime.
No. Okay. That makes it pretty easy then.
Yeah, no.
No more AgCom. APDC, that should be a pretty easy one, I think. So that's the Architectural Preservation Design Committee. Again, I don't think they have a budget as well. Does the APDC run a budget?
They do have a budget.
They do, okay.
That was me.
How much?
Do we know about how much?
5,000.
5,000? It's a small enough budget, but it's still,
It's a small budget, I'm sure that's just for operating.
yeah, I'm sure it's copies and stuff like that. Okay, so we can leave them off as well. Slightly larger budget, Board of Health. Unless anyone has any objections, I have no problem doing that one.
You're on that, aren't
I
you?
sit on the board.
Yeah.
Unless someone really wants to, I'm happy to not do it, but. Okay, easy enough. Capital Planning Committee, we have Chris Menard. Yep. For the Cemetery Commission. Again, modest budget, but
Yeah, aren't they like an enterprise also, don't they? Outside revenue and sale of lots?
they work off this. Is the cemetery commission entirely an enterprise?
Not entirely.
Enterprise, they have a couple accounts, perpetual care, sale of cemetery lots.
Okay. Plus they have personnel as well.
One.
Personnel, that's,
One.
there's a DPW.
That's in the DPW? Okay.
Yeah.
So we could loop
Well,
that
they
in.
have cemetery superintendent, the board is volunteer.
Right.
And they operate under the DPW.
So we could lump that into
DPW.
overall DPW, yeah. I'm fine with doing that. And we could probably lump sewer in that with that one as well then.
Yep.
Anybody feel like doing that one? Jay, historically you have, but
Yeah, I still listen to sewer.
you're still listening, okay.
I do.
You wanna take that one then?
Yeah.
So, one that I will admittedly say that I'm not too familiar with is the commissioners of of trust funds. Madam Town Manager, could you give us a little description as to what the commissioners of trust funds does?
They, so there's certain trust funds that they're in charge of deciding how those funds are allocated.
Is it, how large of a, I mean, when you say some trust funds, are we talking a large amount of our trust funds? Should this be?
No, it's like, more, basically bequests that are done through a trust for certain purposes.
Okay, so not in the trust funds that we're talking about
No.
for our stuff. This
No.
is actual personal trusts and whatnot.
Right.
Okay, so outside of budgetary stuff entirely.
Yes, because there are specific purpose bequests that they're, in charge of allocating. Say it's I believe, like scholarship or something.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you. So I would say probably not on that one. Conservation Commission. That's one that we haven't had before as well, to my knowledge. And I would almost, you'd almost kind of consider lumping that one in with parks to a certain extent. I know that they operate independently and they do different things, but at least it is still in the same sort of general scheme. And since,
There's parks.
in a way, and just in that they're an outside organization that is sort of working with the land and all of that, the
Wetlands.
Exactly. I could push it towards, just an attempt to try and kind of consolidate is all. I mean, given that they do work close with the Board of Health as well, I could certainly lump them in with that too.
I listen to conservation. The only I know they spend money on is their Habitat house they've been spending money on. Otherwise, they have a lot of grants.
Which could be nice to know about. Alright. I can put myself on that one. Just to at least check in. The Council on Aging. That one we've done historically. That's a pretty easy one. Anybody up for doing that one?
I'll do it.
Okay. Another one I was kind of unsure of, but this was more just to get visibility in the town, was the Cultural Council. Again, same idea that their budget, if they have one, is small, but like I said, sort of more just to pull visibility towards them for what they're doing. Any opinions on that one?
No.
I could go either way on that one. Same with economic development. I could sort of lump those two in together.
Well, economic, isn't that part of like planning board?
It is. You want to skip cultural council then?
Yeah.
I don't have any interest.
Okay. And do we want to, we can throw economic development into planning as well. That's totally fine. It's all through. It's all done by Adam, as I believe. Does Adam do economic development as well?
I don't think so.
I'm just assuming
He's
so.
have land use.
Right.
boards.
Does anybody feel like doing economic development and the planning committee? Jean, any interest?
For economic development?
And planning.
Sure.
Okay. Next up is green communities. We actually haven't put anyone through to that one for,
I'll do that.
you want to do that one too? Sure, okay. Then moving on, we have library. Should we give that one to Chris? Since he's not here to say no.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about Chris.
I can do the library as well. My kids are there just about every day. The Municipal Building Design Committee, that would be Tom. Parks would be Chris. And then we have PAC as well. That was one we don't typically go into. And that one's a little more tricky because that's also funded independently.
That's enterprise.
Exactly. So unless someone has a reason to, I would say let's leave PAC off. And then last but not least is just police and fire. Anyone have a desire to do police and fire? All right, I can take that one. And then school, we had, did we have Jean doing school before?
No,
Did we
I
have Tom?
DPW.
I was doing it,
You were doing it? Okay. And we have school as well. That's the absolute last one.
yeah.
You want to stick with school?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think that's all of them. I don't think I missed anything. I'll send this out in a list as well, and I'll put it on the drive just so we have it to make it a little easier to reference. All right. Moving on to old business. So I threw the primary school air conditioning project on here, only because, as the town manager mentioned, there's a warrant article to sort of reappropriate the funds to match the scope that was changed as well. And I did at least want to bring it forward to the committee that we do have the ability, if we wanted to reopen the vote. as we are technically a sort of new committee in a sense. We have a new member, we've lost a member. Personally, I said that I did not want to do that, that I felt that it should be decided at the town at this point, that we've sort of done our job and that should be the end of it, but I did at least want to bring it forward to the full committee, just to at least have the conversation if anybody feels differently.
So is there going to be a warrant at the special? So we'll vote on that.
There is.
So we can wait till we see what it says,
Yeah.
and then we can vote on that.
Yeah, my understanding was they kind of wanted to just cover all of their bases that way, is just throw a warrant article up there if they needed to, if there weren't other avenues that could be used as well. But as a result, we do have, it's come forward that we do have the option to sort of do the revote ourselves, but then it would come down to a 5-person decision rather than a town decision. Anybody feel strongly about reopening? No. Okay.
I don't.
I don't either. Okay. So that closes that one out. There are 2 sets of minutes in the drive that Ms. Menard put together. Has everyone had a chance to read through the June 8th and the June 22nd? One of them was the conversation we had with the school department about the air conditioning. So it was one of the long ones. Not yet.
I don't think I looked at it. If I did, I don't remember.
Okay. Gene, did you read through them at all?
No.
Okay, not a problem. We can push it for the next meeting. That's easy enough to do. All right. Committee reports. Are there any reports from any of the committees at this point?
Municipal buildings, we're going to be meeting on Monday, and I believe we got 200 and something thousand to do some, at the last meeting we had, we were discussing hiring a firm that would go in and look at our projects that we're talking about and give us an idea of what the scope of the work and the estimated costs and things like that. Also, so I believe we got that's funds, and so I'm sure that's what we're going to be talking about on Monday. I did hear, actually, because of the school committee, Peter Beardmore had mentioned that he, on the committee, he mentioned that he would like to see the school committee kind of see if they would work with the municipal building committee to also include Turkey Hill, which for me would make sense, because yes, it's the school building and then the municipal buildings, but it all comes from the same pot of money, so it makes sense to do that. I don't know what that status of that is. I think he's going to probably talk to our chairman of the municipal buildings, who was on the select board, and see if that will work out, but we'll talk about that next week. We'll see.
That's on Monday?
Yeah.
It's interesting. We have the master plan steering committee meeting on Monday too. What time's your meeting?
6. It's going to be online.
Oh, okay. It's like ours is at 6 in here.
We always do it online.
Okay. Any other committee reports? The only one that I have, no, actually I did forget one for the liaison, the master plan steering committee. So since I'm on that one, I might as well be the liaison for that one. We're meeting again on Monday. It'll be our second meeting. So I'll report back on that one at the end of the month. That will be at 6 p.m. here in this room. I don't know if it's going to be covered over Zoom, but it will be covered over Zoom, it looks like. I have a Zoom link. But to my understanding, that should include a report back from the company that they contracted to to get back to us on some of the survey data that was given out by the town members, or to the town, and then just to kind of start the process of organization and, I guess, direction. Other than that, that's all I have for mine. Topics for upcoming meetings. We are rapidly approaching the start of budget season. Madam Town Manager, do you have an idea as to when we might have a calendar for sort of the process of budget season this year? Okay. There's no rush for it. I just know it's coming up shortly. Probably starting next month. Yeah, I don't have any specifically off of this one, other than just kind of to keep in the back of our mind, the meeting with the finance director and the town treasurer as well. Any other topics anyone is dying to have a conversation about before we dive into a whole bunch of spreadsheets and presentations? Okay. If anything comes up, let me know. Is there any public comment from the public before we close out? Seeing none, any public comment from the committee? All right, easy enough. Upcoming meetings, I have one for September 28th, end of this month, October 12th, and October 26th. Since we are a small committee at this point, please let me know as soon as you can if you can't make any of those dates. I know I will not be able to be here on October 26th. So I'll at least start putting that out. I attempted to put out calendar invites.
Is that what that was?
That was what that was, and then it sent out Teams invites, and it just went to, yeah, it went downhill real fast. That's what I do for trying to do it from my phone. So I'll sit down on my computer and try and send those out again. Just to get a head count to make it easier.
I won't be able to make the 28th of September.
Of September, okay. Okay. So if there are any other, I guess if anyone else can't make that meeting or the 26th of October, we will talk about moving it to the week before or the week after if we need to, just so we can get the extra meetings in. All right. Unless there's anything else, I would happily entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 7:50 PM. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.